لكن المصيبة يا أخي، وهذا شيء عجب صراحة، كيف يقارن ساعة مكة هذا المنجز الحضاري العظيم بالأصنام التي تعبد من دون الله؟ أنا أتعجب يا أخي.
وإذا تناولنا هذا الموضوع من وجهة نظر مالية، فكيف تستعبد البلدان؟ وكيف تسقط في هوة الديون؟ يعني ما هي الآليات الرئيسية لهذا النظام الذي يربط بلدانا كاملة بمقرضيها ربطا لا فكاك منه من الناحية المالية وبالتالي السياسية؟
Government and politics in Europe was always controlled by the money interests. Wars were fought, and in order to fight a war, governments had to borrow money. They borrowed money from these central banks. The central banks waxed rich because they loaned money and charged interest, then took over when one side prevails against the other. And when governments could not satisfy the indebtedness, then some of the natural wealth of that country flowed to the bankers.
When Queen Mary's sister, Queen Elizabeth I, took the throne, she was determined to regain control over English money. Her solution was to issue gold and silver coins from the public treasury and take the control over the money supply away from the money changers. Oliver Cromwell finally overthrew King Charles, purged the Parliament, and put the king to death. The money changers were immediately allowed to consolidate their financial power. The result was that for the next 50 years, the money changers plunged Great Britain into a series of costly wars.
By the end of the 1600s, England was in financial ruin. 50 years of more or less continuous wars with France and Holland had exhausted her.
Frantic government officials met with the money changers to beg for the loans necessary to pursue their political purposes. The price was high: a government-sanctioned, privately owned bank which could issue money created out of nothing. It was to be the modern world's first privately owned central bank, the Bank of England. These were not bankers per se. The money changers generally were the goldsmiths. They were the first bankers because they started keeping other people's gold for safekeeping in their vaults. The first paper money was merely a receipt for gold left at the goldsmith. Paper money caught on because it was more convenient than carrying around a lot of heavy gold and silver coins. Eventually, goldsmiths noticed that only a small fraction of the depositors ever came in and demanded their gold at any one time. Goldsmiths started cheating on the system. They discovered that they could print more money than they had gold, and usually no one would be the wiser.
طيب، دعنا نتفحص بنية البنوك المركزية. في كتابك ثمة فصل بعنوان ما الذي يختبئ وراء يافطة بنك روسيا.
Unfortunately, nearly every nation now has a privately controlled central bank using the Bank of England as the basic model. Like the Bank of England, the name of the Bank of the United States was deliberately chosen to hide the fact that it was privately controlled. And like the Bank of England, the names of the investors in the bank were never revealed. Many years later, it was a common saying that the Rothschilds were the power behind the old Bank of the United States. Although it was deceptively called the Bank of England to make the general population think it was part of the government, it was not. Like any other private corporation, the Bank of England sold shares to get started. The investors, whose names were never revealed, were supposed to put up £1.25 million British pounds in gold coin to buy their shares in the bank. The bank was duly chartered in 1694 and started out in the business of loaning out several times the money it supposedly had in reserves, all at interest.
حتى شعار البنك عبارة عن خديعة، فهو يحاكي فقط صورة النسر ذي الرأسين كما هو في شعار الدولة الروسية.
نعم، مع فارق واحد وهو أنه مضموم الجناحين.
نعم، وليس هناك تاج.
Aldrich believed that the word bank should not even appear in the name. Warburg wanted to call the legislation the National Reserve Bill or the Federal Reserve Bill. The idea here was to give the impression that the purpose of the new central bank was to stop bank runs, but also to conceal its monopoly character.
البنوك المركزية في معظم بلدان العالم اليوم هي مؤسسة خاصة أو في أحسن الأحوال شبه حكومية.
ولا أحد يعرف ذلك. معظم الناس يعتقدون أن البنوك المركزية ملك الدولة.
نعم، وهذا أساس سلطتها. الأهم عندهم هو الحط من قدر العالم كله ذهنيا. أتحدث عن ذلك دائما لأن مجمل منظومة التعليم الاقتصادي مبنية على نحو ما بحيث تجعل الناس يكفون عن فهم بنية النظم المالية النقدية الائتمانية المعاصرة،
أي أن يجعلوا سلطتهم غير ملحوظة حتى لا يفقه الناس ما الذي يجري في واقع الأمر، أليس كذلك؟
تحدثنا في اللقاءات السابقة عن جاك التالي الذي دعاني إلى العمل في المجلس الاستشاري للبنك الأوروبي للإنشاء والتعمير، وجرى بيننا لقاء بروتوكولي. بعد ذلك شاءت الظروف أن أعمل مع خلفه جاك دي لاروزيير الذي كان قبل ذلك مديرا لبنك فرنسا ومديرا تنفيذيا لصندوق النقد الدولي، وهو كجاك التالي ماسوني من الدرجة 33.
كلهم ماسونيون هناك؟
أصلا وبالأساس، وإلا كيف يمكنهم دخول عالم السلطة؟
أي أنهم يفهمون جيدا قواعد اللعبة.
طبعا، وهم أنفسهم لا ينكرون ذلك.
إذن يعرفون قواعد اللعبة وليسوا مجرد دمى يحركها أصحاب المال في مسرح العرائس المالي العالمي.